John, I think I just saw you take a sip of a beer. Was that is it's
It's
Friday night.
Friday. It's Friday night.
Been a long week.
I yeah, just went, just get some exercise. So of course I'm going to drink now. This is the only reason why I exercise is so that I can, eat and drink. Literally, it's gotten to that point in my life where I exercise not to get washboard abs, but just so I can, like drink
Yeah,
and not turn into, a giant blob of human flesh.
that's the way to go. Well, to our audience, we want to say we're happy to be back. It has been
Yeah,
about a month,
yeah.
and as you can see, I'm still living at home. I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I'm recording. She's like, I just made dinner. I'm like, can you give me 30 minutes? She's like, okay.
Same with my wife too. I'm like,
Yeah.
Scott and I are going to talk for a little bit. She's like, okay, you're going to do your Mr. Microphone thing for a while. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Microphone thing for a while.
Yeah. Then I
Yes.
got to take out the trash, and then gotta sweep, like do like Friday chores.
I
And
won't be doing that, but I will be making some margaritas later,
yeah,
like
no,
with
that's a
mushroom
good
bone
Friday
satol.
night.
Some satol burritas will be
Yeah,
cranking out pretty soon.
that's a good Friday night. I
It
may
is.
hit the bowling alley solo because I have no friends.
Ooh,
And
that's a
God,
little sketch.
that's a movie in itself, which leads into uh our topic, which
Yep.
is minor characters. We're not talking about the lead role. We're not even talking about the supporting actor, actress. We're not talking about the sidekick. We're talking about characters that may only have one line or not even say anything, but yet you remember this character. And when someone references the movie, you often will quote a line or talk about that character.
Yep.
Uh, and so, John, what makes, I guess we'll start off like what makes a character a minor character?
Yeah.
And we have tons of examples, so we'll get into that in
Yeah.
everyone.
There's a lot, and without and of course not being a professional film critic or analyst or you and I are just like
Yeah.
these
Hey,
two
we're just
amateurs.
fans. We're
But what
fans.
but but what I think makes like a character actor or a B character or a supporting character, like the ones that we're talking about, especially, are ones that aren't even sometimes are even almost uncredited in the IMDb, or they're way down at the bottom of the cast list.
Yeah.
But what is inspiring about these characters that we're going to talk about that are a bit more obscure is that they have a scene or a couple scenes in a movie and they deliver these lines that just are unforgettable,
Yeah.
or they just show up in a part of the movie where they're unforgettable. And even today, people either will talk about where that person was in the scene, like, oh, remember that scene where this person showed up, or remember that line. And you can say the line to your friends,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And they know that character, and you never saw that character ever again.
Yeah.
Or maybe you did, but didn't realize it. But they may have been like a one hit wonder, but lightning struck. And these characters that are in these movies just had these lines and these
Yeah.
scenes that are forever like indented into your
Yeah.
memory about
Yeah.
those films and about that time in your life that you can never remember. And a lot of mine that we'll talk about are in comedies, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
there are some that were in a bit more serious, dramatic films. But
Yeah.
there, you're right. We could make this a 2 hour session because there's so many good ones.
Yeah, and I think what you said about the idea that it's when people talk about the movie, they'll often reference that one line.
Yeah.
I look at it as they're almost like that secret ingredient or this necessary ingredient when you're cooking. If you take out that ingredient, although it's minor, it could be like a little sprinkle, the movie changes.
Yeah.
And it's that little magic accessory that makes the movie. And I think that when we went through this list, because essentially every movie that's been out has a minor character, right? Unless it's just some monologue, whatever. So the list is exhaustive, but we went through and we have a criteria of that we just talked about that has such a significant impact, or in some cases, the whole movie revolved around a character
Mm,
that you almost never saw. And by that definition, it was just minor because
right.
99% you never saw the person.
Right.
Um, but why do you think we love them so much? I mean, if you think about uh, a minor character, they put in there for some reason. But why do you think, John, that for some of these movies, especially these cult movies, they'll just reference that one line.
I think it's a case by case basis
Yeah,
too. I mean, there's some that just are so funny. Like
yeah,
some of them just like either they just have a character that is just fits them so well in the
yeah,
movie, and they deliver a line that was written for them that maybe
yeah,
not even it may have been like a line no one really thought about,
yeah,
but they deliver it so well, and the timing is so good, and it's so perfect that it creates magic, and you just
yeah.
never forget it. And some of them are really funny, and some of them, are not, but you remember them.
Hmm.
And there's so many of them and we started talking about it again. We don't have enough time to go through all of them,
Yeah.
but there are some classics,
Well,
absolute classics.
I mean, let's just call it what it is. Let's dive right in. Well, one of the
Yep.
reasons that we came up with this topic was I was dealing with, I'm not going to give names, but the character who most resembles the guy I was dealing with is none less. It was lo and behold, it was Spalding
Yes.
from Caddyshack. For those
Oh
of
yeah.
you who've seen it, it's Spalding. That's all I got to say. And John, this character, the rich grandson, right? The snotty little kid that
Yeah.
everyone knows. The movie had nothing to do about him. He was
Mhm.
such a minor character, yet when this movie, which is a cult movie and it's
Yeah.
been shown, it's been around since 1980. People laugh the hardest when they're talking
Oh
about
yeah.
Spalding. So,
Yeah.
so what's the line? Like what's the when you talk to people about
There. I
Caddyshack?
don't think you could probably say to somebody, "I want a hamburger." No, a cheeseburger. I want a hot dog. I want a milkshake. You'll get nothing like it. I mean, everyone knows the Spalding Judge Smales interaction there
Yeah,
when they're at they're at finish the ninth hole. They're at they're having something to eat, and and Spalding is like that rich, spoiled, kind of heavy set, kind of
yeah,
snotty kid. I want a hamburger, no a cheeseburger, and Judge Smales is so great. That
yeah,
line, I think I can mention that line to anybody else. Oh,
yeah,
dude, Caddyshack. That's Spalding.
yeah, yeah,
He's just I didn't write down in my notes who the character was that played him,
yeah,
but he was so good in
yeah,
that movie. The other one was when he was I remember he was trying to he was in the middle like the fairway, and he's trying to hit his iron, and he's
hmm.
saying turds, and he'll say Spalding. How many times I
Just
think your language?
yeah,
Sorry, Grandpa, I
yeah,
forgot. I mean, and he's in the other scene where he's like he's drinking people's empties,
yeah,
and he's drinking all the empties and barfs
yeah.
inside the sunroof of the Porsche.
Yeah.
Classic Spalding.
Well,
So
it's just
good.
I think it's the name. It's the
Oh,
casting was perfect. The guy looked like that.
Spalding.
Just the
Spalding.
boss's son, like the
Oh, it's
rich
so
kid.
good.
The whole thing. I mean, obviously the setting is a
Oh, it's so
country
good.
club. So, but that's one I thought was when you think of Caddyshack, you have Chevy Chase, you have obviously Bill Murray, these kind of lead roles,
Yeah.
leading characters and everything. But that one was yet, I think, how do I say, inversely proportioned. Like the less he had, the more people want to talk about him.
I mean,
And
he stole scenes, that kid. I
yeah,
mean, like
yeah,
he stole those scenes. He
yeah,
was so good.
yeah.
So good.
I think the other one we were talking about that we liked is Weird Science
Mm.
with Chet.
Oh,
And
jeez.
when for people our generation, when we talk about this character, everyone and I think what it is that character role. Everyone knows a Chet.
Yeah.
And so when they nail it, I think that's the relatable, oh yeah. Kind of like you had the Stifler in the later, kind of American Pie series. They really nailed this character actor. And this one, Chet, was just with his
So
flat top. And for those of you who haven't seen it, like this will be your favorite character in the movie. And I would say the same, like when we talk about like Stifler, right, from American Pie series, when most people talk about that series, they'll mention Stifler, similar to I think how people mention Chet, just because they're so memorable.
so he's such an asshole. Like
Yeah,
he is like the perfect annoying bully older brother. Bill Paxton, of course, plays
yeah,
Chet, and he is the quintessential bully older brother who just
Yeah.
picks on the weaker younger brother, and he delivers lines that are
Yeah.
just so good. Like he has that. I'll never forget. I remember the movie came out in '85. I remember going to see it in the movie theater like 3 times because I just thought it was so funny. I remember he was this one scene he's talking to. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil it for you. Lisa, who's Kelly LeBrock, who's the woman they made on the computer, and Chet's having an interaction with her in the hallway, and he says, he's like, lady, I want to get to the bottom of this ASAFP. And she says, oh, so do I. And then Chet says in this kind of really kind of this sort of dirty way, but first, I'd like to butter your muffin. I mean, it's such a funny,
Yeah.
funny line. He's such a dirtbag.
Yeah.
And he just continues to pick on his poor brother the whole movie.
Yeah.
And Chet is just awesome.
I think to me, it wasn't even his line. It was the way he backs into his room with the cigar and he
He has a
just,
cigar. And he
yeah,
turns around and goes,
yeah. And
"Rup,"
he's got the
and he
towel
backs it.
on and the flat top. It's,
And the camo, he's wearing
yeah,
always like wearing camouflage.
it's,
And he's
these
smoking a cigar.
characters are, and that's what's so fun about these movies is somehow that accent, that ingredient makes the movie. And you can't imagine the movie without Chet, even though he's
No,
got maybe like
no.
5 lines. I think
Yeah.
some of these others that we've talked about, Willy Wonka, which has a
Oh yeah.
whole cast of characters,
Yeah.
and I'm doing a little research. They say one of the best minor characters are the Oompa Loompas, but to me, they're a huge
Mm,
part of the movie.
yeah. Yeah.
But one of the characters that I thought, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit to debate whether it's minor or not, but it's definitely not
Mm,
Charlie. It's definitely not Willy Wonka. It's Veruca Salt, who I think
mm.
played such similar to Chet, such a like tangible, salient character, right? This spoiled girl that was she just nailed it. And so Veruca Salt became so many people that I know that would always mention her as like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Veruca, I'm so happy to, that she got down
Hmm.
the goose neck, the goose, what is it? The
Right.
uh,
She went down like the
the
yeah, she went like she was a rotten egg.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and so what are some of the other ones here, John, that you felt?
I this movie has so many. Again, it's so hard. Is 16 Candles,
Yeah,
which to me had so many, from the two idiots in the bus with the jock straps on their heads with the little space guns,
yeah,
score direct hit. But it has to be Long Duck Dong. I mean,
yeah,
Long Duck Dong with his like his like liners like,
yeah,
what's happening hot stuff, and oh sexy girlfriend. I mean, he's so funny, and
yeah,
he doesn't have a lot of time on the screen, but
yeah,
he just every scene he's in, it's
yeah,
just, and it's probably, I don't know, it's probably cancelable now, I suppose, but
yeah.
he was just so funny. Long
Oh
Duck
yeah,
Dong. I mean, you say the name Long Duck Dong to anybody probably above the age of like 40, and everybody's like, oh dude, 16 Candles,
yeah,
no more Yankee my wanky, donger need food. I mean, there's
yeah.
so many one liners.
Oh yeah, he's so endearing, and
Yeah.
he outshines so many of the other characters, and that's hard. You got Molly Ringwald there. You got just
Yeah.
a whole cast of
and
just
the little
amazing
things, like
actors.
he took like the fork and the spoon and made
Yeah,
chopsticks out of
yeah,
them. I mean, like little things like that. I'm
yeah.
like,
That's what
brilliant.
makes it. One of the others that we recently saw together was Smoking the Bandit, and we're
Oh,
talking about
oh,
Junior, who is the son of
oh,
Buford T. Justice.
Justice. Oh my goodness, so good. I mean, Junior was such a. I mean, well, you had Jackie Gleason who
Yeah.
played Buford T. Justice, and it's honestly one of my favorite roles Jackie Gleason ever played was Buford T. Justice
Oh
in
yeah.
the original Smoking the Bandit, because he's just everything he says is funny,
Yeah.
and his teaming up with Junior, his son in the movie, is like the perfect team. They just played off each other so well
Yeah.
because his son was such an idiot and so stupid, and his poor dad. There's that great line where he says, remind, he's like, I can't believe like you come from my loins, and remind me
Yeah.
when I get home to punch your mama in the mouth. Like, it's just
Yeah.
so many great lines.
Yeah.
And Junior was so funny. It was
Yeah.
just, oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
It again, it's this lovable character
Mm.
that it's just it makes the movie fun. And I don't think you'd want to see a whole movie about Junior, but
No, no,
uh
not that time. Not
yeah.
about Junior.
But in
No.
some cases, and we were talking about this earlier, there
Mm.
are those minor characters that are so mysterious that you just want more. You want to
Yeah.
know, like, this guy could do a spin-off and it would be much cooler than the original kind of lead characters. And I think one of those is Sue from the movie
Mm.
Swingers
Oh yeah.
in, I think, 96.
Yeah.
You have Vince
Well,
Vaughn, John Favreau, and who are, this kind of the buddy movie, if you will. But then there was Sue, which was their really good friend, who I thought was just a cool dude. He just looked cool. His lines
yeah.
were
His
cool.
name, his dad was a
Yeah,
big, Johnny Cash fan, so he
yeah,
named him Sue.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, he was like a dude you want to hang out with.
yeah. And I thought that would be like, gosh, if they did a spin-off, this is the character you would want to know
Yeah.
more about. And I always thought that was a really interesting
Yep.
character when you have that in there. Um, some other ones that I thought, Goodfellas was Joe
Mm.
Pesci's mom. Goodfellas, obviously, huge movie, Ray Liotta and the whole cast with Robert De
Yep.
Niro and Joe Pesci. And I thought, and the mom is actually Scorsese's real life mom.
Mm.
And there's the scene where she shows basically the character, Ray Liotta and Robert De Niro, her new painting. And she had been painting, and she's like, "Oh," and then Joe Pesci, "Hey, well, this guy's looking this way, one dog's looking that way. What do you want?" It's just the way he interpreted fine art, if you will. And I've seen shirts with that
The
painting.
painting on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
thought, like, wow, that scene was so powerful
Yeah.
that there was enough demand. Uh,
Yeah.
but that was a case of, I don't think we'd want to see a spinoff with just her on it. Who knows? It could be interesting. But what were some of the other ones, John, that you felt
Well, I'm going to bring it down several
off?
notches below Goodfellas. Better Off Dead.
Yeah,
Probably one of the greatest, well, probably one of the most iconic lines, in top 10, top 20
yeah,
in A's movie was I Want My $2, Johnny the Paper
yeah,
Boy, played by Damian Slade. Uh, Classic line. Paperboy wanting his $2 for his subscription that the family owes him. It's this minor character that become like a part of this film, and I don't think there's anybody that I know, if I don't say I want my $2, they'll say, oh yeah, Better Off Dead.
yeah.
It's, again, I don't know if I'd build a whole movie around Johnny. He actually, maybe you could, because he
Well,
looks
that's
pretty devious.
yeah,
Like he looks like a pretty, like he remember he had the switchblade comb.
yeah,
Had with two
yeah. Like,
dollars.
who would have
He
a
could,
good backstory?
I
What
mean, you never
what
know. Maybe like
characters?
he like lives on his own in a tent in the
Yeah,
woods and like sells newspapers, or
yeah,
like he deals drugs on the side. I don't know. He was like 10 years old,
yeah.
but that would have been pretty funny. That was one that I could see would be I don't know, maybe, but I that line in terms of like
Mhm.
characters that like deliver a line, and he had like one line and that was it in the whole movie,
Yeah.
and it was just so good.
Well, there's so many great
Oh
movies with such a layer of characters.
yeah.
I mean, look what the whole Star Wars series. I
Oh
mean, Disney bought
yeah.
that for what, a multi-billion dollar deal. And Han Solo has his own backstory. Boba Fett, who I think
Mm,
couldn't be one of the coolest so-called minor characters, has his own backstory. Uh, and I think they're just so powerful. There's such rich, deep stories, that you often wonder, like, where did this guy come from? How did they meet?
yeah.
And then some are
Yeah.
just like Spalding, where they just come in
Well,
with
yeah.
one line, or
And
Better Off Dead.
I'll dumb it down even more. Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah,
Tell him Large Marge sent you, which
yeah,
was this trivia here for you, Scott. You don't know this, but Alice Nunn, who played Large Marge in Pee Wee's Big Adventure, still one of my favorite films. Great
yeah.
film. Trivia: she also played a trucker in Thrashin'.
Oh yeah,
Just so you
she
know,
was
she
killing
played a
it.
trucker. She was typecast as a female trucker,
Yeah.
and she was in Thrashing as well. So a little bit of trivia there about Alice
Yeah.
Nunn. Large
I
Marge.
think it one similar to Better Off Dead with that line, or just this minor, is from Groundhog Day with Ned,
Oh, Ned
which
Ryerson.
Ned Ryerson,
You went
everyone
and you
knows.
went to
Yeah,
Woodstock. You went
I
to
went.
Woodstock.
I
You
went to
went and saw they
Woodstock,
filmed it. Yeah.
which is about an hour and a half outside of Chicago, and they have the honorary step right where Bill Murray took his famous step into the water, and they
Yeah.
have it, a plaque right there. And a minor character that you literally you couldn't do without. And when every time you see a trailer when they're promoting the movie, they'll show that scene. So
Oh yeah.
I think a classic example of like a powerful casting, powerful, just enough, right? Just to make that scene just
Carl and I went to see that on
yeah,
Groundhog Day here in
yeah,
Vegas. We went to
yeah,
see it.
yeah,
And when that scene came out, the entire audience just
yeah,
roared with
yeah.
laughter when
That's it.
Ned Ryerson, Ned the Needle Nose Ryan, Ned this head,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just so good. So good.
Um, Now there's some others that you alluded to earlier that are not just comedy, but
Mm,
really well done to a big movie that did this. One of the most famous movies was Jaws, which
mm.
didn't show the shark, which was technically a major character, but didn't show the shark until about 3/4 into the movie.
Yeah.
But they had the music, the cello, all that thing to give you the clues and this haunting figure. With the movie To Kill a Mockingbird,
Mm.
one of my favorite books, and I think we talked about a movie that I think even surpassed the book in terms of its impact, is the character Boo Radley. And
Yeah.
the Boo Radley is this mysterious character that no one sees, but everyone talks about in the little
Yeah.
town in what Alabama. And it's only at the very end, and it's played by Robert Duvall.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
there's a spoiler. I
Huge,
mean,
huge, huge actor. Yeah.
huge
Robert
act. It
Duvall.
was one of his earliest roles,
Yeah.
and the way they reveal Boo
Mm,
Radley is in
yeah.
probably my number one most powerful minor character, the most genius way to introduce this like haunting personality.
Yeah.
And it's just I think anyone who's seen it
Yeah.
will know. And we'll put this on our social media. We're gonna actually cut this scene and put it on, because I think everyone, if you haven't seen it, everyone, this is one of our demands. Just watch it. Robert
Yeah.
Duvall. It literally probably 30 seconds on camera, and could
Yeah.
have won an Oscar for that. Just I'm
Yeah.
saying it
It
right now. It's so powerful.
it is. I don't think I could say any more than what you just said. It it,
Yeah.
it is. It's a great scene, powerful scene, and Robert Duvall has zero lines, zero lines.
Yeah.
But he just like his facial
His
expression
face.
and the way that he moves, like his body language is like just it was I remember seeing it for the first time like in like in junior high. I think I
Yeah.
saw it for the first time and it was huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the next one we had talked about was a movie in from 1986, from a Stephen King, I think, novella, Stand By Me.
Mm,
And
yeah,
Ray Brower, who
Ray
is
Brower.
the dead kid, right? For those
Yeah,
of you, the whole movie, the entire movie is a journey to find this kid
yeah,
who got hit by a train. And so you just know this guy is out there, and all the stories and all the adventures and that lead up to it. And then at the very end, they show the body, they show the kid, and it's incredibly disturbing. I don't know how
mm,
to tell you, John. I don't know. I mean, I saw it as a kid,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But yet
yeah,
you knew that we're going to see a kid, and then they finally show he's all jacked up and whatnot. And
yeah.
I
It
thought
was
the
a
impact was powerful.
it very much so. I mean, the whole movie is about going to find a dead body. That's what
Yeah,
they're going. These kids are going off to do, and the movie has a lot of comedy in it. It's
yeah,
got a lot of drama in it, and then it has this reveal toward the end,
yeah,
three quarters of the way through, where they actually find his body and they lift up the bushes and there's like this dead body there. And
Yeah.
it is, and then it leads to a pretty prolific scene after that,
Yeah.
a real turning point in the film that I won't talk about in case you haven't seen it. But again, yeah, I mean, Ray Brower was a great character and basically was a dead body. I don't know who played Ray Brower, but
Yeah.
he did a good job being
Great
dead
job.
because
Great job.
really
It was
good, like,
just the
dude,
way,
it
yeah,
was disturbing. You
it
see
was
it, he's
disturbing. Well, because it's
kind
like
of twisted around.
kind of like a kid's movie. You're going in there and you're like, wow, I didn't.
Yeah, and
It's like it was like watching Watership Down as a kid, where
oh
you're like,
no.
you're just
Yeah,
like
you're ruined for like you're I'm like I went through therapy. I almost had to go to
most
therapy after that movie.
depressing
About killed
movie.
me.
And that
That
was
and
it, like, oh, it's a Disney, oh, it's about rabbits and everything. Oh, we don't want to
yeah.
go off topic there. But John, for our last segment here, if
Yeah.
you had to direct a movie based on any minor character, what would it be?
Direct a movie on
Yeah.
any, oh God, there's so many. I mean, you could easily say that
You got
um
one. You got one. The studio goes, okay, John, you got to direct. Pick your favorite minor character that you think everyone would like, and
I
film a
there's
movie.
aside from the muscle bound sexy sax player in Lost Boys, I'm gonna have to say Long Duck Dong. I think
Okay.
you could make a hilarious movie about that guy. Like a day in the life of Long Duck Dong would be, I think, could be really funny because he's such a genuine character who's trying
Yeah.
to fit into the into American lifestyle, especially in the 80s. That would have been funny. He and Jake Ryan could have gone out like pick up girls in his Porsche. Come
Yeah.
on. That would have been really and him and Farmer Ted. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall. So how about you? What would you say?
I would say the biggest bomb. If I pick one that if I wanted the studio to lose money or I wanted to just be kicked out of
Oh,
Hollywood, would be Spalding.
oh
Like
yeah.
I think
Oh
in that
yeah.
because that case he works well because it's like a limited. And but if you did a whole two movies about it, it's one of those like almost like a sequel that is so bad because they've milked a joke way too far with jumping the shark. That's when I think when
Yeah.
like Spalding's Big Adventure, right? That would just be a
Well,
total,
well, think about
total
like Happy
bomb.
Days, like Joni and Chachi had their
Yeah,
own, and
oh,
I
geez.
mean, I think even like Friends. Remember, Joey tried to go
Yeah,
off and do his own;
yeah,
it failed.
yeah,
Either they have to work within a group of characters,
yeah.
them by themselves. Although Long Duck Dong, I do believe he might be able to pull it off.
Yeah, that would be a funny one. You could start to extrapolate or imagine where he came from, all the way from
Yep.
Japan. Or
Yeah.
for me, for one that I think I mentioned it before, but I think the character of Boo Radley is
Mm,
fascinating, and they
yeah.
talk about uh, in the book that he was chained up or he was violent and he had
Yeah.
stabbed, and so there's
Right.
this what's true or what's not. I think that there's a big story behind there,
Yep.
a little more of a drama in terms of
Yep.
comedy. I mean, there's so much. I mean, a whole Veruca Salt, like like a whole, you can see I could even see Disney or one of these going, oh, we're gonna take Veruca Salt and what was she like growing older and
Right, right. I can see her looking
it's
for some like almost like Devil Wears Prada. She go look
yeah,
for some like
yeah,
fashion magazine and be like some
totally
awful boss,
see it.
awful person, and maybe has like a redemption moment.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well,
Or
listen,
maybe, or maybe she starts a band
yeah,
called Veruca Salt.
that's it. That's it. Well, everyone, listen, we thank you for hanging with us in our month absence. We promise we
Yes,
won't go away for that
yes,
long again. And let
yep.
us know your favorite minor characters because we know we haven't even scraped the surface here. We want to hear it. We want to hear what your movie would be as well if you had to direct a full feature, 2 hours, right? About your favorite minor character. Let us know. Everyone,
Awesome.
fantastic weekend.
Long
John,
weekend. Long weekend.
that's
Enjoy
right.
the long weekends. I know I'm gonna sleep for 3 days.
Have a
It's
beer,
gonna be
buddy. You're
beautiful.
having the beer. You're already on your way.
I'm almost out of
It's
beer.
time.
Time for margaritas and
All
tacos
right.
tonight.
Everyone, have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
See you, everybody.